This content has been brought to you by my Patreons, and if you'd like to join them, link is in the description.
What's up? Welcome to Overthrow Media, your best place for politics, hip hop, and life. It's your comrade revolutionary, dope ass MC, and international sex symbol, Big Villainous. It's time for another story time when we come right back.
Living in the house of usher, parasitical lighting structure. The plague begins to cluster in the house of usher.
Before we jump into this, I gotta have a moment for my sponsors. Y'all know y'all my only motherfucking sponsor, so make sure to support me on Patreon and cop some of this dope ass merch. Alright, so today, what we're gonna be talking about is how the police tried to have me killed down at Westlake. Since we gotta wrap up this whole theme of corrupt policing, might as well tell you a little story. The story also ended with it going to the Supreme Court, and then of course, me winning. So, let's get it. If y'all didn't realize, I was one of the co-founders of Seattle Cop Watch, which we made it an absolute point to hold the police accountable and look out for our community. One day, a few years back, I was down at Westlake. I was doing my thing, not Cop Watch related, and I seen somebody who I used to be a mentor to being harassed by the police. So I took the moment to inform them about their rights, to let them know that they do not have to give them ID. During that interaction, me and police started exchanging some words, started having some fucking issues, like normal, because I'm not very friendly to the police. I do not like them. I am not their friend. I do not support their mission to enslave our people. So, knowing me, I was quick to tell them they're fascist pieces of shit, and that I hope that their reign of terror comes to a very abrupt end very soon. As I put the pressure on them and let my former mentee go, they refocused energy on me, which was my plan. But what I wasn't planning was for the street kids. And street kids are houseless folks who generally be at Westlake. For them to try to side with the police, which is not something that's fly. We don't really do that around here, you know what I mean? You ain't supposed to side with the police, fuck them. So the police started provoking it, right? Trying to be like, see, they don't want you here. Now, mind you, I'm equivalent to the big homie at that point. You know what I mean? I have been from here. Everybody knows me. I have history, except for some of the youngsters, right? The youngsters don't really know me like that. I was very clear that my problem ain't with them. My problem with the police. My problem is with what they do to them, as well as they do to the youth that were just being fucked with. This shit escalated, right? A lot of back and forth. They call me fat ass. I'm calling them pig, swine, pieces of shit, sell out, traitor, pieces of shit. You know what I mean? Even though they are like Irish, you still traitor to your people. As someone who has some Irish blood too, hate to admit it, but I got some European blood in me, so it is what it is. I was quick to point out that they're a traitor. And we argued, and then we had some of these youth literally trying to defend the police, talking about their people too. I'm like, do they treat us like people while they're enslaving us? Fuck them, like, at the end of the day. So I continued to argue with the police while they tried to provoke conflict between me and the folks who were down there. And I was like, we ain't having that. I'm just focused on you. There's a point where it devolved to some of the street kids threatening me to defend the fucking police. And I'm like, I'm not even gonna focus on y'all. I ain't gonna talk shit and nothing. I'm gonna focus on the police. Well, the police end up giving them something out of their trunk. All this was on video, mind you, at the time. But as they give them something out of their trunk, I see it's kind of escalating, right? And they're like, if we weren't here, they would fuck you up, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. All right, whatever, bruh. And then the police were like, we're going to Nordstrom's. Hella loud so everybody could hear. Now I'm videotaping them following the police while the whole crowd is following me. So when the police went into Nordstrom's, then the crowd of street kids attempted to attack me. Now at that point, I pulled out my knife and started using it because I had a guard on it. I started using it kind of like a shield and an intimidation factor. Backing away from the crowd, headed towards Pacific Place. Now this was like a 1.5 block journey, but I made it that whole 1.5 blocks and got into Pacific Place. As I entered Pacific Place, back away from the crowd, the police walked through the crowd and pulled their guns on me. Tell me to get down and put the knife down, so I do. As they come to arrest me, they hold me down while all the street kids they had sent at me attack me, kicking me, punching me. Now, after I go to jail, I'm there for a couple days, I get out. This court case ends up lasting a couple years, which at that point, Judge Rosen, who was an out and out fascist, starts banning me from being downtown. as a way to mitigate my organizing and the cop watch as well. So this case drags out. But when it finally goes to trial, it is a fucking shit show. Now, not only is Judge Rosen like super fascist, but I go through lawyer after lawyer that just keep dropping off the case. All my good lawyers get dropped off, and I end up with this shit ass lawyer that isn't trying to do the defenses I'm telling him to do. In fact, he literally refused to operate the defense I told him to operate. So as the trial started, already start off with a bad start, right? First thing they do is eliminate all black jurors. They keep black jurors from being on it, or anybody who's ever been critical of the police. So now what I have is a shit ton of white jurors and people of color who aren't really friendly to black folks. Yeah, it was like that. As the trial started, the video was playing. It was shocking to a lot of people. So there were people who were crying, people who were sighing, people were like, oh my God. And because of that, Judge Rosen threatened to arrest everybody and made them sit 5 feet apart so they could see who was crying, so they could incarcerate some women who gave a fuck about me. Well, we go through all the testimonies given, the cops versus me pretty much. All the witnesses pretty much were on the defense team, even the ones who originally weren't intended to be, but after they reflected on what they had saw, felt a little differently. Despite what people thought, when the verdict came back guilty. There was ruckus in the court. A few people had yelled and walked out. So Judge Rosen sent people to arrest the folks who had walked out and went on a recess. Now, as some of my friends and comrades were being arrested, the security decided to try to attempt to attack one of my ex-partners, who we were still best friends despite not being together, and they still mean a lot to me to this day. That led to us all squaring off. Me, one of my comrades, were squaring off with these police who were trying to attack a woman who was just there trying to videotape what was going on, which we had permission from the judge to do. So we ended up squaring off, and then they ended up having lawyers de-escalate the situation. I go back into that motherfucking court, right? And at that point, I already know what time it is. So when I went up in there, I knew it was gonna be a problem, right? I knew I was straight going to jail.
All right, you may all be seated. All right, I know that there's been a lot going on.
You can't surround me and say that. I do not feel safe this close to me. You guys need some space. You stand at least against the walls or away from me.
We'll do that. We'll do that for you.
Okay? Then do that for me. I'll take
They're doing it right now.
You guys point weapons at me in this courtroom.
Have a seat, sir. They're backed up. Have a seat now.
Okay. You please back up?
I am where I need to be, man. I swear to God.
I feel in a vulnerable position. I'm not willing to sit down and I'm vulnerable to you guys.
Sorry,
You guys pointed weapons at me already.
Nobody's pointing any weapons at you.
This person right there pointed a taser at me inside the thing. I'm not doing anything illegal or anything against any rules of this court at all.
This is not going well. I'd like the marshal to take the two folks in custody and take them back to a secure location. And then the defendant's either going to sit down or he'll be taken into custody as well, because I need to control this situation inside my courtroom. Impose bail will be $25,000. Mr. Erickson's going to be taken into custody at this time. After he's taken into custody, we are going to recess for a while.
So he ordered me into custody. So when he sentenced me, I grabbed the mic and called him
You're a fucking fascist piece of shit.
And at that point, then he ordered them to take me into custody. I stood up and put my hands in the air, like, fuck you. And as they all grabbed onto me, they were trying to yank me all these different directions, trying to pull my arm behind my back, trying to slam me and shit. And now there's like these U.S. Marshals, there's like 8 of them on me. And they still can't budge me for shit. So what ends up happening, this is kind of where everybody starts really freaking out, is one of them, the short pudgy one, pulled out a fucking taser and fucking tasered me in the back.
Fascist, 30 people.
Back up. Marshals, clear the gallery. Clear the gallery. Clear the gallery. Clear the gallery. Get out of this courtroom.
And I still don't go down first, but then I just realized, man, I could have permanent repercussions from this. So I just kind of gave in at that point and went down to the ground. And as they handcuffed me, I went off to the judge and called him a fascist piece of shit. I told him there's blood on your hands. That person is above your head. George Washington was a slave trading piece of shit that didn't care nothing about black lives. This country is full of blood, and this is a long rant. This is a long rant condemning this nation, condemning the courtroom, condemning the state, and then I went to jail. It ain't the first time I've been there. I was there for a couple of days and then I was out. Luckily, actually, a comrade named Ian came through clutch with 10 racks to bail my ass out of jail. And that shit almost didn't get me out because they were trying to keep me up in there, but I got out. And I came back, and there was all these news cameras everywhere, right, to go to court. When I went back, right, he ended up sentencing me to like 15 months with like 11 suspended. And then my attorney pushed for appellate bail. Luckily, I got that. That was another 10 racks. So I was fighting this KL through the appellate courts, right? Now, this was a long process. It took years. Get turned down for one appeal, get heard for next, get turned down for another, get turned down, and worked all the way to the Supreme Court. This whole court case. And it's behind, technically, over this knife I had, which they claim was illegal, but it was actually a legal knife. It was not illegal at all. When I went to Supreme Court, I opted out of being there, but my lawyer was one of my friends. And how he became a lawyer, by the way, is he got attacked by the police. He sued them, got money, paid for law school, and became a lawyer, and then represented me. But when he was going, and we finally got heard by the Supreme Court apparently ended up asking the prosecution if he was trying to deny the black experience. This is a Supreme Court judge. I'm dead ass serious. I'm like, this motherfucker is literally the ops, but he's even saying this was a racist ass trial. We also won on the Batson Challenge. With the Batson Challenge, if you remember when I was talking about how they eliminated all the black people immediately, that was how we won on the Batson Challenge, because I was not being represented by a jury of my peers by any means. So we ended up getting that case overturned, and it was honestly lovely. They wanted to retry me, but when it was clear we were gonna go to trial all over again, they just kind of gave up, hands up, and left. So that's what happened. If y'all got any questions about the details, go ahead, get down there in the questions. The reason the background changes started raining on me, so I couldn't keep videoing outside. Now, if you want to hear about the court case that came from the court case, let me know in the comment section. Also, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit that bell so you can stay notified, and follow me on all the social medias. That means villains_music on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, Patreon, yeah, that Patreon, and even Twitch, though I barely use it, I'm gonna be honest. I'm trying to get into it, but I gotta get my shit working right. So like I said, if y'all know how to get streaming working right on my limited setup, holla at me. Thanks for rocking with me, and make sure to tune in Friday. We out of here. Deuces.
Walking through the crease and the cracks of the streets, struggling for some food and a bed to sleep, while trying to cause overthrow. I'm feeling weak, ideology buff.
I have been attacked by multiple white supremacists on the white supremacist system, who on the side of their motherfucking wall has a rapist who kidnapped and hold hostage black people. The judge is a goddamn fascist. I've been tasered for nonviolent resistance to a fascist regime. I'm not cooperating. You tasered me when I wasn't being a threat. So fuck you. No, hell no. Why would you kidnap me? You fucking fascist.